Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm in my cabin and I thought that I would do a bit of an experiment with some of my graphite pencils. So you can see in my tubs there that I've got quite a collection of different coloured pencils, graphite pencils, watercolour pencils, you name it, I've got it. So here are the pencils that I'm going to be having a look at, and I really wanted to look at the difference between kind of different types of graphite. So I've got matte graphite, watercolour graphite, standard graphite, and some coloured graphite, but also to compare the different lead strengths. So I've got some hardy leads and some softer leads in the collection, and my aim really today is to see what they look like on paper with watercolour. So I've sketched out these florals using the different pencils and made a note about kind of which ones they are, and I am just going to put a really light colour layer of watercolour on the page and see kind of how the graphite moves, if it impacts the colour of the watercolours at all, and I love doing things like this. It really helps you to understand your supplies, and especially with mixed media work, helps you to kind of make decisions ahead of time when you're working on a piece as to what materials you're using, and kind of gives you an idea about what to expect when you're using them. So that was just a little shot of the watercolour palette that I'll be using, and here I'm using some new to me gold ink, and I actually really like this ink, just to put in my title on the page. So with that done, I'm now going to start applying some of the watercolour to these little floral illustrations. So I'm starting with this section of roses, and these have been drawn using Faber-Castell Graphite Aquarelle range pencils in a range of different leads. So I'm starting off with the HB, and then you will see as I move on that we move on to some softer leads which produce a darker line. So it's interesting to see actually how these graphite leads have been designed for use with watercolour, so that they dissolve into the watercolour as you use it, and you will see that the softer the lead, the more easily they dissolve, but that actually, because the lead is darker, it does actually darken the colour of the watercolour paint. So I'll let you continue watching that and I will come back soon. So you can see here with the watercolour applied, the lines are still visible, but they are a little bit softer. It has muddied the watercolours slightly, which is something that I actually really like, with those darker leads. So now we're moving on to the Faber-Castell Pit Graphite Matte. So these aren't designed to be dissolved in watercolour. It's a matte lead, so it doesn't shine on the page in the way that graphite pencil normally would. Yeah, so we'll just keep on watching as I apply some more watercolour and come back in a moment. So you can see here there's been no shift in the quality of the line. The lines are all still as they were before applying the watercolour. So it really does just depend what kind of finished effect you're looking for in your piece, as to which kind of pencil you may choose. So moving on to the next section, these are the Caran d'Ache Technolo pencils, and these are the coloured graphite pencils, some of the coloured graphite pencils in the range. So you can see that this graphite lead that I've just painted was Carmine Lake, and this one is Prussian Blue. And then we've got dark cyanine green. I've probably butchered how you say that name. But with these leads, they do give a pink, a blue and a green tinge in the graphite. So you can see here I'm just using again a really pale pink watercolour, and you can really see, particularly with the blue line, how that kind of bleeds out into the colour and affects the final colour range. So because it's mixing with that pink paint, it gives like a slightly purpley hue, which is really, really nice. So that would just be something to consider again if you were using this in an art piece. These are the Caran d'Ache No, they're not the Technolo. They are the Caran d'Ache Graphwood range of pencils. And I have 3 different lead strengths here where I'm applying the water. Again, these are standard graphite pencils. There isn't really any movement of the line. I think some of these different pencil ranges, it's just about how they feel in the hand to draw with, really, and then understanding how that will impact your painting afterwards. So these Blackwing pencils, again, a standard graphite. I tend to find the graphite in the Blackwings a little bit darker, but I love the retro feel of the pencil. The Graphwood pencils are a little bit chunkier in the hand. The colour of the casing corresponds to the softness of the lead, so the darker the colour of the casing, then the darker the line of the lead and the softer the lead. So that's a really easy visual way when you're working in the studio to quickly pick out a pencil and know kind of if it's a lighter lead or a darker lead. Yeah, and so you'll see that, you know, with these Blackwoods, the lines don't move very much. The flowers that I'm painting are really tiny. So bear that in mind. It will look differently depending on the size of the piece that you're working on, depending on how heavily you've laid down those lines. I do have a bit of a heavy hand. I tend to apply lines quite a little bit heavier. Yeah, so just all different factors to think about when you're using your supplies. But I suppose the whole point of this video really is about playing with your supplies in a way. It doesn't have to be a masterpiece, you know, final piece of art. It can just be little experiments like this in your sketchbook that helps you to understand your supplies and the different effects that you might get when working with your products, so that then when you do use them on a bigger piece, you kind of don't take any unexpected surprises. So here you can see my finished page and the finished florals and the different effects. And you can really see now when we come back to these watercolour leads, how they have dissolved out and impacted the quality of that watercolour, you know, staining that watercolour slightly with the darkness of the graphite, and similarly with the coloured graphites at the bottom, how that has impacted the paint in the final piece. And here you can just see some of the shimmers that I have used in the paints, shimmering on the page, and the shimmer of the graphite as well. I think that's the nice thing about being able to see sometimes the graphite lines in your work. Depending on the type of graphite you've used, it does give a slightly silvery shimmer. So I hope that encourages you to get out some of the pencils in your stash and try them with different supplies. There's just something about creating these pretty journal pages and playing with supplies that is really inspiring, and it can be a really good thing to do on a day when the ideas aren't really flowing that well. So until next time, I'm wishing you a happy creative week. See you again soon. Bye.